for office out in Wisconsin this year?
Man, people are talking about how difficult it is to be able to afford the things that their families need. Gas prices continue to stay high. Grocery prices continue to climb. Home heating costs in states like Wisconsin are beginning to tick up as people are turning on their furnaces. People are finding it harder and harder to get by. The number one issue, inflation. We need to really turn the corner and put a check on the Biden administration to get inflation under control.
You certainly hear a lot about inflation anywhere you talk in the country. At the same time, what about people having jobs? Because one of the responses we hear out of the White House, which I think might be fair, is, you know what, a lot of people have jobs that didn't have them when President Biden took over.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely positive that we have a tight labor market. Of course, we're looking back and making comparisons to a period of time during the pandemic. So, of course, we were going to see more people coming back to work. But the people that are back to work are finding that their wages aren't going as far. They're seeing actual negative real growth in their wages as inflation continues to take up more and more of their paycheck. So a tight labor market, positive for workers. The downside is inflation is taking away over a month's worth of your wages every year.
Again, just true to the White House says, many other people say as well, that fighting inflation is primarily the responsibility of the Federal Reserve. Do you agree with that?
Well, you have monetary policy and fiscal policy both at play. The Federal Reserve is in many ways reacting to terrible fiscal policies coming out of one-party Democratic control in Washington. So the reckless spending that we've seen under Biden and Pelosi are driving inflation. Now the Fed is reacting to that by raising interest rates. We could have made the Fed's job a lot easier if Congress wasn't creating the reckless spending driving inflation in the first place.
Well, there is some chance that you may get your shot at least controlling the House. We don't know about the Senate at 12 days from now or whenever all those races get resolved. So if you actually, they turn to you to drive the car, where are you going to drive it?
I think there's three key things we got to do out of the gates to strengthen our economy. One, we got to stop the reckless spending that we've continued to see over the past 2 years of trillions and trillions of dollars in new government spending. Two, we need to unleash American energy. We've seen a war on energy from the Biden administration starting on day one with the killing of the Keystone Pipeline. We need to address and unleash American energy. And three, we need to look at our labor policies here in the United States. We have far too many people still finding themselves on the sidelines. We got to help them get back to work and back into the labor market.
Can you get any of that done if you have a Democrat in the White House? And by the way, quite possibly still an effective majority of Democrats in the Senate.
Yeah, I think there's real opportunities, one, to cut the reckless spending. You're not going to see the House of Representatives under Republican control passing trillion-dollar boondoggles. To stop that is actually quite easy the moment we take the Speaker's gavel away from Nancy Pelosi. Unleashing American energy, I think, will be harder, but I think the American people are going to demand it, and I actually think we'll have a mandate to do that following this election. And then the labor market, we need to sit down and have a serious conversation about making sure that we're encouraging folks who find themselves on the sidelines to get back to work. That may be the hardest with this administration.
What about the